Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for logging in, either through Zoom or watching us through YouTube or Facebook Live. And thank you, panelists, for being here on a Saturday morning. I know it's a bit early for some people, but I guess most of you wake up quite early and you're bright and fresh by 10 o'clock. So thank you so much for taking the time. Today's panel discussion would be on the topic current and future of Indian optical industry. And we got six great panelists. We got Mr. Ramachandran, who's an eye care sector management consultant, and he's an honorary advisor to India Vision Institute. We got Mr. Milind Jadhav, who's a senior director for inclusive business and philanthropy for South Asia for Essilor. We have Akash Goyal, who's a country manager and managing director for Luxottica. We have Mr. Amitav Mendonza, who's a marketing director of Lawrence and Mayo. We have Mr. Sanjeev Madan, who's an honorary general secretary for the All India Optical Federation. And we have Mr. Ashutosh Vaidya, managing director for Safilo India Private Limited. Now, they're going to be talking about a whole range of things in terms of the industry going forward. And maybe during the discussion, if I can request the panelists to just maybe put some passing comments in your opening comments on maybe some of these following things. One is the current and future status of the eye care, eyewear market, the future of the Indian optical industry, including how it may grow in the next 5 to 10 years, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on the optical industry, and how long do you think this may last, and are there opportunities for India to become a hub for the optical industry? So, the people who are watching through Zoom, please use the chat button and ask your questions, and I'll moderate the questions. The format for this morning would be each one of the panelists would make the opening comments in the first 4 or 5 minutes. So that might take us about 25, 30 minutes for all the panelists to share the initial thoughts. Then I'll moderate the questions and we'll have another 25, 30 minutes for questions. So if you're coming through YouTube Live or through Facebook, please type in your questions and we have people moderating that and they'll pass it to me. Those coming through Zoom, please type your questions and I can directly see it. So again, panelists, thank you so much. We'll start with Mr. Ramachandran, or Ram as he's popularly called. I'll invite him to make his opening comments. Ram, over to you.
Thank you, Vinod. Thank you, and good morning to everybody. And firstly, I should also thank IVI to bring, for the first time, everybody together, frames, lenses, and the association together. So thank you for setting the tone. So let me quickly go into the focus of what's happening today in the current optical industry, and I'm restricting it to India. So I would like to start off briefly about how the Indian industry started off, and there is still a prevalence of eye incidence of cataract today, even in India. We said that it may probably get eliminated over a period of time and so on 30 years back, but still there is still an incidence of cataract. So just to give you a picture, this market is there because we have high UV, which is emitted out during this tropical regions, and so cataract remains as one of the key areas for avoidable blindness, and hence it goes to prove that there is a need for protection and correction. So in which case both sunglasses and spectacle frames and lenses play a large part. In addition to that, there is a digital strain which is now coming as another big phenomena in the industry, which adds to the opportunity for people who would like to also protect and secure this against the digital strain. So I would like to probably say that this perhaps is a great opportunity for vision, which is meeting now fashion. So vision meets fashion today, and it's no more in kind of a situation where each one is working independently or in silo. So looking at the future, if I would rather say that what's happening in the industry, I would say that I would safely estimate that the industry would be growing at around 5% year on year. And this is a very safe estimate, and I'm a bit conservative here. Being a South Indian, we normally are very conservative in our thought process, but it's going to be around 5%. And in this, it can happen only not by itself, but it has to happen with a lot of effort by the opticians and the optometrists who play a large role. The ophthalmologists are playing a key role in bringing a lot of issues which are there today in the Indian population, and in a way which has reached a very mature, I would say, mature state. Whereas in the optical sector, I think it can reach to that level only provided if all of us coexist and co-work. So optician optometry will have to play a large role. Huge opportunity for optometry equipments in India, because Indian optometry equipments in most of the stores are still needs a lot of improvement, and a lot of the new gadgets will have to be plugged in to get the confidence of the consumers. On COVID, if you ask me, the period of uncertainty would also come to an end. I do not want to predict when this is going to end, because I have no authority, or no, nor do I have any information or prediction which I could do. But I would like to again quote from Bhagavad Gita, where it says, everything in life comes and goes. We have no control over it. So I think this will also end at some stage. So during this period, I would also like to bring in, I always like to take Adi Godrej's quote, in which he says, during this period of uncertainty, sales is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is reality. So I think in this optical, since we are talking about the business, I think it's very important that we need to focus on cash during this time. I think this is going to be like this for next 2-3 quarters. So now coming to the next part, which is basically on the Make in India, which has been going on for long, but now it has reached a situation of everybody talking about it because of the pandemic. So I will restrict myself to the optical industry, because and I will quickly say that the external factors also play a role: infrastructure, ease of government procedures, tax reforms. But for the industry, I think Indian business families are well set today to launch a large investment opportunities in India for this sector, and coupled with joint venture opportunities which are going to flow in. MNCs have played also a role in India. Some of the MNCs, some of the panelists who are here also invested quite significantly in Indian manufacturing. So I think MNCs have played, but much more can be done for the Indian consumption as well as for the world requirement. Scale of operations, I'd like to probably take the example of intraocular lenses. 30 to 40% of the world requirements of the intraocular lenses are manufactured in India. Why not we can do it in those sunglasses or frames or lenses? I think there's something which we need to understand and plug this gap. So I think there is a need to be competitive in the nature, because we just can't just keep saying that make in India, but we don't have quality, international quality at competitive cost. We need to have financial prudence, which I think is lacking today. And also we need skilled manpower, and skill development plays a large role. And there should be a kind of an upliftment of the rural part of the market also, which I think Milind is doing a phenomenal job in that part of the sector. So when you look at we need to probably look at dedicated manufacturing zone in India. I think this is a need of the hour, optical manufacturing zone. So I would probably end with a quote from Mr. Xavier Fontenay, one of the famous, the people in the optical industry, who's the ex-chairman of Essilor, who said that in his book, Why We Should Trust Entrepreneurs, is that real security from being confident, audacious, and competitive, lowering operating costs, and contracting requisite level of debts. During this pandemic, I think we need to look at all these factors to make businesses sustain and grow. So with this, I would probably leave it to the other panelists to comment as well. Thank you, Vinod.
Thank you so much, Ram. Milind?
Thank you, Vinod. Thank you for this opportunity, and my respected panelists and the dear audience. All of us know uncorrected refractive error is the second biggest cause of blindness. In fact, Essilor McKinsey, who came out with a report which was launched last September, which talked about the size of the uncorrected refractive error and what can be done, who can do what, and how can we eliminate the poor vision or the uncorrected refractive error. In fact, by 2050, as per this report, if no action is taken, 50% of the world population is expected to suffer from myopia. and almost 3.2 billion people will suffer from uncorrected refractive error. So this was the findings of the McKinsey report. Similarly, very recently, World Health Organization also came out with a report which focuses on ending avoidable vision loss due to range of issues, eye conditions. And the most important again was the uncorrected refractive error. So both these reports, the McKinsey report as well as the World Health Organization report, they draw similar like conclusions about the uncorrected refractive error. So tackling vision impairment will require a full system approach. And both these reports recommend the involvement of multiple stakeholders, which includes the governments, multilateral organizations, healthcare organizations, NGOs, and even the private sector. So that is the size of the issue or the size of the uncorrected refractive error for which all of us are actually trying to work for. And 1 in 3 people will suffer from uncorrected refractive error, which is actually a major public health challenge. So I think there are 4 focus areas if you have to tackle this big issue. The first one is creation of a sustainable access points for providing the eye care services. I think this is the need of the hour. In the size of population like India, almost 70% people, they stay in the rural areas. And the most of the eye care providers, including the eye hospitals, the ophthalmologist or the optometrist or even the optical business, the shops, are mostly focused in the urban areas and very less is left for the rural areas. We need to really create a sustainable access points in the rural areas. The second focus area is innovation to accelerate the affordability of cost to service and also the products. So we need to also provide affordable solutions also. The third is funding of subsidized and free services. So not everyone can afford. So like for example, in India, we work a lot through Isla Vision Foundation for people who really can't afford, the people at the lower end of the strata. So the third area is on this funding for subsidized and free services. But the most important, I think, is the raising awareness on the uncorrected refractive error. ESLOR today, actually, we have created a separate mission called ESLOR mission. And exactly, we work on these 3 action areas. One is inclusive business. Second is on the strategic giving, what I just mentioned about the ESLOR Vision Foundation. And third is on the advocacy. How do we create more awareness on vision? So very recently, you must have heard, like some time back, we had the See Now campaign in Uttar Pradesh. And we targeted almost more than 40 districts. In fact, Vinod was one of the important part of it. And the whole idea was to create awareness on vision. The objective was people should know the importance of vision, and people should, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan was actually motivating people to get their eyes checked. So the whole idea was again to create awareness, and we wanted people to walk into the nearest optometrist or walk into the nearest optical shop or the eye hospital to get their eyes checked. So this was more on creating awareness. So likewise, we do a lot of activities through Isla Vision Foundation. And like many of the panelists today, we are working very closely with them. With Lawrence and Mayo, even with Ray-Ban, with Luxottica, with Akash. And through Isla Vision Foundation, we are doing a lot of activities. Like for example, just I have to, for want of time, I will just mention 2-3 activities, big activities. So we are doing a big, we did a big program in Mizoram with India Vision Institute, wherein actually we screened the school children. We did a big program for tribal children in Telangana, where we screened 120,000 students. We are doing a big program with the government of Maharashtra, and we are focusing on screening 25 lakh students from the government schools and providing free spectacles to them. We are doing a program with government of Karnataka, where we actually reaching out to every government school in the rural areas. We already trained the teachers, and we want to reach out to the students for doing full refraction, and then who need the spectacle will be given free of cost. So likewise, we are doing a lot of programs. So we are the whole idea is to reach out to the people through the foundation, and through inclusive business. Again, like I said, access is very important, because people in the rural area, they need to have access to the eye care. And with the primary vision care provider program, what we have, so we are trying to include everyone and reach out to the rural populations at their doorstep. So in summary, what I can say is Essilor today is working on creating more awareness on vision. We are trying to create more access points. And when we are doing all these things, it is going to benefit the industry as a whole. So everyone benefits out of this. So this is what I want to just share with all of you from the Essilor experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Milind. Akash, would you want to make your opening comments?
Yeah, sure, Vinod. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all the participants and all the panelists. And thank you, Vinod and India Vision Institute for giving me this opportunity. Happy to be here. And my comments, my subsequent comments will be more from the perspective of branded eyewear, because that's the part of the industry that I belong to and I understand, or at least I believe I understand. Let's look at, if we come back to the current scenario and if we look at history as such, there has been a tendency always, whenever mankind has faced a catastrophic event like this, to overestimate the impact of such an event in the short term and underestimate the impact in the long term. Right. What I mean by this is, if I look at the current scenario and where all industries, including ours, has been impacted by this pandemic, it's very easy to predict the end of the world. Right. What I mean by that is, we are faced with a falling demand, rising costs, cash flow issues, supply chain disruptions. It's very, very easy at this point of time for everybody to start predicting the end of the world. Right. But we need to remember the fundamentals here that have not changed, right? The pandemic may have caused a disruption, but the fundamentals of the business remain. Vision care per se is a fundamental need, right? The need is a good vision for a better quality of life. This is not something which can be substituted or it can be postponed, right? If we start kind of taking a helicopter view and look at it from a medium to a long-term perspective, things will come back. I would not say to the normal, but say to the new abnormal. At the same point of time, we also need to remember that we should not underestimate the impact of this pandemic either. There are certain things that we need to be prepared for. Right, some key things are going to be in terms of the consumer. There are definitely going to be shifts as far as the consumer behavior is concerned. Shopping habits will change. Expectations of the consumers will change. There would be definite bridging as far as the digital divide is concerned. Going forward, the way that we are looking at it, we feel that there is going to be a confluence of digital and physical coming together. There will be consolidation of retail. At the same point of time, there would also be new categories and new opportunities that are going to be coming up. One thing that we are observing right now is protection. Eyewear for protection is something which is coming up as a category in itself. What I mean by that is, so far, it's been sunglasses for fashion and spectacle frames for vision correction, right? But there is this new understanding that the consumer is getting, right? That I need to wear eyewear for protection. So whether it is in terms of clear lenses, whether it is in terms of safety glasses for a particular need, or there is also going to be an opportunity for sunglasses per se, where sunglasses start being worn as a protective gear. I think Milind or Ram, they talked about India and the cataract issue there. Given the UV index that India has, sunglasses are more of a necessity than a fashion statement. And that's something that going forward, I believe this pandemic will push business in that area. Commenting on the future of the industry per se, let's look at the last decade and the growth that this industry has enjoyed. The fundamental pillars of that growth have been rising awareness. There have been rising accessibility of eyewear, vision care services. Milind, for example, with the program that Essilor Vision Foundation is running, They have been instrumental in raising accessibility for eyewear. At the same point of time, there have also been rising aspirations of the consumer, specifically from the perspective of branded eyewear. These three, rising awareness, rising accessibility, and rising aspirations, are going to be true for the next decade also. I would not hazard a guess in terms of the percentage of growth, but I would safely say that the eyewear industry will continue to grow at a rate which is higher than the GDP growth. If you pardon my pun, I would say the growth, I would say the future of the eyewear industry is clear and sunny going forward. Something very interesting is also, apart from these three factors, yesterday there was this article in the newspaper which talked about the population demographics of India, and saying that less than 50% of the people now are less than 25 years old. So in the next decade, another criteria which will come in, which will add to the growth of the eyewear sector, would be aging population also. On my going next, I would like to comment on the Make in India part, or can India become an optical hub? To answer that question in a single statement, yes, of course we can become an optical hub, right? If you can send a spacecraft to Mars, why can't we set up a manufacturing unit here, or create India as an optical hub? However, there are, when we look at any optical hub per se, when we look at any manufacturing hub per se, there are certain fundamentals that are required, right? One, of course, is there needs to be local intellectual capability and capacity. I believe we have that. There has to be sufficient local demand. That also is something that we have. The third, what is required is competitiveness. And I think that is where we need to work on a little. When we say competitiveness, it's a lot of people look at competitiveness from the point of view of cost. It is not about cost. Let me tell you this. We have been manufacturing in India for the last 30 years, right? And we are as competitive, if not more, than any of our plants anywhere else in the world, right? It's not about the cost competitiveness. Standalone, we are extremely competitive. It is the indirect costs that need to be taken care of. What I mean by that is the uncertain regulatory environment, onerous compliances, things like labor laws, taxation, ease of doing business, changing laws every day or changing policies every day. That is what creates a problem for any manufacturer today. Having said that, I would definitely say that baby steps have been taken in the right direction, and what the government has been doing in the past 1 or 2 years, specifically after implementation of the GST, I'm sure that we will have someone, maybe us, making India as an optical hub, or creating or playing our part in making sure that India becomes an important part in the global optical manufacturing scenario. So I'll leave it at that, and I will let the other panelists have their say.
Thank you so much, Akash. Amita?
Thank you, Vinod. Respected panelists, dear friends. I think I'd like to answer the queries raised from a perspective of setting a backdrop to a pre-COVID environment, where I think from a retail perspective, even in a pre-COVID scenario, walk-ins, especially new walk-ins, were difficult to come by. And I think to a large extent, even the ATS, which is your average transaction size, was pretty much flat, even during a pre-COVID time. And I think the onset of a recession was pretty much imminent and could be felt by retailers across board, big and small. So I think setting that as the context, we then took on the whole COVID scenario which came into play. And I think if you ask me, the fundamental need to relook at your business is really not dependent on a COVID scenario. I think if what COVID has probably done is only accentuated that need and hastened that need. But I think the fundamental need for retailers, particularly, to relook at their business has come even before the COVID came into play. And so, like, I would just try and give you 3 or 4 barometers or 3, 4 points that I look at and that have, sort of got me thinking. I think one of the things that I definitely look at is, I think as retailers, we still tend to be very product centric. There is the whole aspect of buying and selling a product. And I think somewhere down the line, I think as retailers, we need to start becoming far more customer centric. Which means the hero of the business needs to become the customer in the truest sense, not the product. So I think that's one major shift that we would need to look at a much deeper level if we are going to look at growth opportunities. I think when you start moving towards more a customer-centric perspective, I think in coming specifically to the audience and saying, in a COVID scenario, I think there are 3 distinctive values that come out very clearly to me. I have been articulating these values. One is obviously safety and hygiene at a retail level becomes paramount. Retail is a lot about touch and feel, and therefore safety and hygiene is extremely important. The other aspect of it that I think is pretty critical is the fact that people are looking for convenience. They were looking for convenience even before COVID, and now in a COVID scenario also, I think convenience is becoming a fairly important aspect of customer-centric value. I think also along with that, I think one of the most important things that have come out is the value for money quotient. And by value for money quotient, I don't necessarily mean that people want products that are cheap. But I think value for money basically means that you have a knowledgeable consumer out there, and he needs to understand very clearly what he's paying for and what value he's getting from the product that he's buying. And therefore, as retailers, you would need to up your game, and as L&M particularly as well, we would need to up our game as far as this aspect of the business is concerned. Besides that, probably I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that I think there are opportunities that exist in specific customer segments. I think you guys are all aware that we have the largest kids population in the world. It's not China, it's India that has got the largest kids population. Kids are pretty much using digital gadgets rampantly today. And now with online classes on, I think that itself is a huge market out there. So I think segments like the kids segments like, I'll just throw something in the hat that definitely came across me. I think a lot of people, we normally as opticians tend to believe that the business comes from people who have RX issues. That means people who have prescription. But I think there's a lot of potential out there to make people wear glasses who don't have prescription. I think that's another segment of the business that can definitely be looked at. And personally for myself, I have been involved in a journey where when I looked at the DNA of brand Lawrence and Mayo, I kind of felt that it was very connected with the premium segment. And that's when I kind of looked upon the development of the luxury segment of the business. And I think that's also a great opportunity because very incidentally, the luxury segment for the last couple of years, even post demonetization, has not really dipped. I think it's pretty much holding good. And even now in a post-COVID scenario, I see that at the higher end of the spectrum, business is still, it's not great, but it's still pretty consistent. So having said that, those would be my 3 or 4 specific points as far as the impact of COVID and the opportunities from COVID that come our way. My 2 very distinctive observations of retail currently are that when I visit stores, I do get an impression that consumers don't like to spend too much time in a store. They're coming in, they want a job done, they want a job done fast, and they want to hasten out of the store. So I think the way we sell will need to change because we guys have a lot of gadgets and we want to explain a lot of products and we've got iPads and things like that. I think fundamentally that dimension, maybe it's short term, like Akash mentioned, it may not be a long-term scenario, but I think somewhere down the line, there is an essential aspect that we would need to look at. And I think the good news that I have for people around is I don't think ATS is really coming down. I think the number of walk-ins have not greatly changed. The number of walk-ins are still hard to come by. But I think with concepts like multiple pairs, looking at new segments and stuff like that, I think you will pretty much be able to, ride through this difficult time. I think another aspect that I would touch upon is regarding the manufacturing side. Not because I'm a retailer, I have nothing much to say on manufacturing, but my thoughts on manufacturing that excite me are that as a retailer, I do believe that I'd like to finally design products for my consumers that my consumers would like to wear. As a retailer, I often find that I end up selling products which I have to sell because they are a particular brand and they are made in a particular design house. So I think for me, from that angle, I think, and this resonates with me at a deeper level. As a retailer, at a design level, it does resonate. And also from a perspective as a retailer, I think servicing a client is very important. It's not easy always servicing clients when the manufacturers are abroad and when these brands are abroad. I think if manufacturing were to come to India, I hope that we would be able to impact servicing in a big way as well. On manufacturing, my larger point to the audience would be is I think globalization was the mantra that we kind of rode on for the last 20 odd years. And I think now in the last few years, I think the mantra has shifted to localization. I think however local you are, how well you know your locality as a retailer as well, would determine whether you stand out and tide through these difficult times. Yeah, that's all from my side, Vinod. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Amitav. So, Sanjeev, do you want to make your opening comments? Yeah. I think you're on mute, Sanjeev.
Thanks, Vinod. Thanks, IVI. Great to see this great panel back, and hi to everyone. Seeing it from the perspective of retailers today, India has been a great market always. We've had great numbers. Eye correction requirement has been great. But lately, because of the economic downturn, I think which we were facing from last 6-8 odd months, the industry was already getting affected. Not only optical industry, other industries also. And now this COVID, which is a new reset, which is going to change the way the businesses were happening. It's going to bring in a lot of correction today in all spheres of, not only in the optical industry, everywhere. But the best part is that our optical industry will still be holding in a far more better position than other industries, because it's more of a necessity. If I see it from that perspective, I see that sunglass segments are going to get affected. But as Amitava was saying, what is going to be very, very critical is going to be the spectacle segment, which is going to be now affordable products, and spectacles will be more in demand. Contact lenses will be more in demand. But the challenge is what our industry is going to face is that because of the lower demand, a lot of people who are not visiting to the stores, the numbers of customers which are coming very low today will affect the survival rate of a lot of opticians in India, and that will bring in a lot of correction. Already we are coming to know that a lot of opticians are closing down, retrenching a lot of staff. I think this correction will also happen in the sphere of rentals in India. The salaries of the staff will also come down. We have to make sure to survive today. One thing is very critical, that we bring our expenses down to the least. Whatever is possible, we should bring down, not cut the necessary part of it. Not leave, in fact, as Amitava was saying, store hygiene levels have to get improved. And I agree, we should not cut down the expenses there. We should actually bring in more protocols, which the government is today, because consumer who's going to come to us, and that too for a shorter time, as Amitabh was saying, and I agree to that, uh, is going to look for things, small things, what kind of protocols we are adhering to, what kind of comfort we are giving him, because eye testing is going to be very, very critical part of the entire thing. Um, so I personally feel, our industry is going to sail through in a far more better position than other industries like, um, apparels or restaurant industry or other lifestyle industries. But yes, sunglass will get affected because sunglass is mostly, now it is required today, whereas UV thing is concerned. But I think because it's more of taken as a luxury product in India, still it will get affected. Ophthalmic lenses, in the part of ophthalmic lenses, I think it's going to be very crucial. The companies like Essilor, Zeiss, and Hoya, I think they should play an important part somehow to go to the consumer, let them know how critical it is going to be for them to have a good, great vision. But what is going to be more important is that, how we sail through this. Um, we've had a lot of uh, Zoom calls earlier on. I think this time it's going to be like opticians, optometrists, manufacturers, distributors have to sail through this toughest time ever faced in our industry ever. And I think this tough time will depend upon how COVID pans out in India. The places uh, cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Calcutta, they are almost today centers of COVID today. The businesses will get affected more here. And as we go out to smaller cities, in Punjab or in Uttar Pradesh or in Madhya Pradesh or Andhra Pradesh or South, I think there the business will move up faster than the cities, what it will be. And all indications are moving towards that only. So I think for next 5 to 6 months time, it's going to be very tough, but eventually we all are going to be getting out of it. Seeing it from the perspective of the manufacturing in India, I think India is a great market. We have great demand here of all the products. Today, I think we are amongst the best placed people. Ophthalmic lenses markets are concerned. Spectacles manufacturing, brand manufacturing can come here. Um, Also, one of the key things, as Akash was pointing out, the indirect costs, what we have in India, are one of the biggest challenges. If the government gives us, if takes out these challenges out, I think India can be a great place, not only to manufacture, to consume, also to export. Because all said and done, we are on this reset can bring and will surely make sure that the hubs, Indian manufacturing optical hubs are improved. Now we are coming out with information that there has been almost 200 smaller factories in Gujarat getting closed. So that clearly gives us an indication that if the government doesn't come up with something very critical for the industry, there is going to be another a challenging problem which we all will be facing. So to end it all, we are better placed. We have a great market. We will be amongst the fastest of the industries moving out of COVID recession time. Thanks.
Thank you. So maybe, sorry, Ashutosh, you could make your opening comments now.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. And, without taking too much time, let me say that I, by and large, agree with most of the panelists. I fully feel that the optical industry in India has a great future. I have no doubt about it. With the increase in the screen time, etc., I'm sure the demand is expected to grow. From a manufacturing point of view, I definitely agree that we need to take some steps. We at Safilo are trying to take some steps. So as and when we have some concrete thing to announce, I'm sure we will announce that. Let me try and bring one point here, and my opinion that's an important point. And since I now come from an industry which is a mattress industry, I was heading Kurlon some time back. I have seen one very interesting phenomena in mattress industry, and which I'm just trying to correlate with an optical industry. Optical industry has amazing future. Point taken. Does optician has amazing future? Let me bring you to mattress industry. Mattress industry in India is close to about 13,000-14,000 crore industry. 88% of the mattress shops have closed. 88%, and who are the few who are left only in Bangalore and Kerala, and to some extent maybe in Chennai. You go to Mumbai, there is no mattress shop. So what I'm saying, see, there are two different things. One is a future of an industry, another is future of an optician. Okay. I personally may not I would see industry future and the optician future together. Because imagine we have an optical industry with no future of an optician in it. Maybe from an industry point of view, it's amazing. But look at from an optician point of view. It's a creation of a retail in India with a loss of jobs in informal sector. I think these two are two different things. I'm just trying to bring in some, kind of a parallels. What is optician known for? Optician is known for a trust, confidence, relationship. All this thing is what optician is known for. In the new environment, where what is called as physical is becoming more physical digital, or it's becoming digital. I would say it's becoming more physical digital in my opinion. Fashion is fashion and safety. So it's not only fashion and safety, and the relationships which this industry is known for now have been kind of getting replaced with digital, and again digital physical. How in this growth trajectory of an industry, optician should keep himself relevant? Because if the optician is not relevant in this, I'm sorry, industry will grow, but possibly optician may not. I personally feel that consumer will always have an aspiration. Aspirations are very basic to our human nature. Optician, my opinion, is in the best place to handle the aspiration than the digital, So as we all are part of industry and we have been into industry for a long time, I think it's important for us to even think about optician, how the whole thing is going to benefit opticians at a large. I personally feel if industry has a great future, the great future has to be out of optician, and not like what has happened, which I have seen it myself in mattress industry, where 88% of the independent mattress shops closed over a period. To be very precise, there are only 12 or 1300 independent mattress shops which are left, and they are closing at the rate of maybe about say 50, 60, 100, every month. So 2 points: amazing future of an industry, how an optician finds his amazing future in this growth. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh, and thank you all the panelists. I know we took a little more time, but I think you all brought such good complementary perspectives. And later on, we'll try to, put it all together, as a bit of a package, because we got it on Facebook, and so we just want to save that and then put it, into the public platform. So I think that it'll be great value.